Welcome back. So we've looked very in depth at the print statements and a lot of the different things we can do with this. And that in turn showed us a lot of the different types of data we can work with in Python, such as strings and numbers. And we also learned a bit about what kind of syntax is valid for printing out strings. They have to be surrounded in quotation characters. Strings that are not surrounded by quotation characters do not work. Numbers don't need quotation characters. Arithmetic operations also don't need quotation characters. Right, so with that, we're going to move on to the next short topic, which is to give you a quick introduction to variables. So variables are used in programming languages to store data that you want to work with. And we're going to show you how to get input from the keyboard as well, which is a cool use of variables. So to kick all that off, I'm going to open a new file here. So I'm going to go, again, select my language, which is Python, which is here, and I'm going to save the file just to start off with, what did I call the first one? Example2.py. Okay. Right, so variables. So we use variables to store data that we want to work with. So to create a variable, I can give it a name. So let's say I wanted a variable to store my own name, which is Michael. Maybe I can create a variable called name. So to do that, I can just type in whatever name I want to call the variable. So I'm calling this variable name, and I'm going to set it equal to the string. Oops, I beg your pardon. I'm going to set it equal to the string Michael. So that's my name. And maybe I'll create another variable to store my age, which is I'll set to 31. So I have two variables. I have a variable called name, and it contains a string, Michael. We know it's a string again because it's surrounded by quotation characters. We have a second variable, and it's called age, and it stores the number, or the integer 31. It is a number, of course. And remember, an integer is a number that does not have a decimal place. So my age is 31. And our friend, the print function, can actually print out the values of these variables. So I can say print name, and I can say print age, just like that. So I'll save that and I'll run it. There we go. So it's printed out the contents of the name variable, which is Michael, and it's printed out the contents of the age variable, which is 31. Excellent. So you'll be doing a lot of that in your programming career. The print statement also allows us to get a bit fancy with this and a bit to do things in a kind of a short-handed way. I can do this. I can print out a kind of a good-looking string that contains the variables. So let's do this. Let's print hello. My name is. I'm going to put a comma, and then I'm going to put the name of the variable I wanted to print out, which is name. My name is name. And then I'm going to do the next piece of the string, and I am, I'll put a comma, and I want to use the variable age here, so I type that in, followed by a comma, and then I finish it off with I am age years old. So can we see what's happening here before we run it? We're using the print function again, but this time we're supplying not just one piece of data to it, we're supplying 4 pieces of data to it. Here's the first piece of data. Here's the second piece of data, and the third piece, the fourth piece, and the fifth piece. I beg your pardon, 5 pieces of data, not 4. The first piece of data is a string. The second piece is the variable name, which is also a string. The third piece, again, is a string. The fourth piece of data is the variable age, and we know that actually contains the number 31. And then the final piece of data is also a string. And what print is going to do is it's going to join each of these 5 pieces of data together in one string. And it will separate each one of them with a space character. To do that, each piece of data you supply to the print function, if you're going to supply more than one, needs to be separated from each other with a comma character. So a comma separates each piece of data. And each piece of data that's separated by a comma when we call print will come out separated by a space character when we print out to the screen. So let's do that now. So I'll press the run icon, and there we go. Hello, my name is Michael, and I am 31 years old. Note how it puts spaces around Michael. And we have the spaces around and I am. We have the spaces around 31 and the spaces around years old. I could put another string on the end there. I don't know, goodbye. And it will also put a space there. There we go. There we go. So it's separating now the 6 pieces of data with space characters. So that's a really handy way of printing out a lot of data and how to use variables inside a string. Very, very handy. And you can see it doesn't matter if the variable contains a string or a number. When they're all put together as one string, the entire output is one single string. So that's very, very handy. Now, to finish off, I'm going to do a third example. So again, I'm going to pick Python as my language. And I'm going to save this as example 3.py. So this is one of my favorite things to do. So we're going to use a variable now in a practical way. So now we're going to see how to take input from the keyboard to from the user, get them to type something into their keyboard, which you can use in your program. And the reason I had to show you variables first is because once we get the information that the user types in, we need to store it somewhere. And of course, we store it in a variable. So let's see. We're going to take we want to get the user to type in their name. So we'll create a variable called name. And that's it equal input type your name. Now, what's going on here? Input is another Python function. So we've looked a lot at the print function, but input is another type of Python function. And again, we have, just like the print function, we have some brackets, and inside the brackets, we put in a string, the message we want to print out. So this, whatever we put in here, this is the message that Python is going to print out to the screen to ask the user what they should type in. We have name equals before input because when we use the input function and the user types in something, we're going to want to store whatever it is the user types in, and we're going to use a variable to store that information. So whatever the user types in when we prompt them to type in their name is going to be stored in the name variable. So let's try that. Let's run that. And you can see now this is different to the other programs. In my terminal, it's stopped here. It says type your name, and it's waiting for me to type in something. So I'm going to click into my terminal window and type my name, like that. Oops, I beg your pardon. I put in a rogue pound sign at the end there. Michael. Now, I typed in my name and pressed enter. So you have to press the enter key on your keyboard to send in whatever it is you type into the program. But nothing else happened. Why? That's because we took the user's name, we stored it in the name variable, but we didn't actually do anything with it. So maybe we should do something with it. Let's print it out. Let's greet the user who's so kind enough to run our program. Hello, name. And we'll just give an exclamation mark there at the end. So let's print out, we'll say hello to whoever's typing in their name. So let's run that now again. So run. Type your name. So I'll type in my name again, Michael. And now we get the message. Hello, Michael. And again, remember the print function has separated each of these 3 pieces of data with a space character. That's why we get a space between the contents of the name variable and the exclamation mark. So I could run it again, and I could type in another name, Laura, for example. Hello, Laura. So there we go. So that's it for this video. So we've just looked at variables. We use them to store data. Variables can store lots of different types of data. They can store strings, and they can even store numbers, even though we didn't do that in this video, but we will do it in another video. And as you can see here, what we also looked at was the input function that allows us to prompt the user to type something into their keyboard. We can then save it into our program by storing it in a variable, and then we can do something with it, such as printing it out. So that's it for this video. And in the next video, we're going to see more fun with variables. And we might look at a programming construct known as loops. But for now, that's all there is to this. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.